If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, but let's get right to it. First of all, I'm wearing my Visit Tatooine Resort shirt. Hold on. It's so fitting for this episode of The Mandalorian. First of all, I have to say they knocked this out of the park. For this to be the kickoff episode of season 2, damn. They just took it to a whole new level. I made notes because there were some things I wanted to talk about specifically. First of all, isn't it funny that like all things Star Wars seem to always lead back to Tatooine? I'm just like, you always seem to have to go back there, which I thought was great. This is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, you may want to come back to this later, but I'll just give some quick thoughts. And there's spoilers involved. First of all, I loved having the Gamorrean guards fighting it out like MMA fighters in the beginning of the episode. That was just great. You had some of Darth Maul's race that was there in those scenes. Everything was perfect about all that. And that's like that, those opening scenes before you go to the credits and everything. And it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. I loved, the animatronics on the one character. I do not believe that was CGI. I believe that was full animatronics. So the articulation in the mouth of that, the boss man that, was going to pass on the information, to Mando that there's another Mandalorian on Tatooine. Great special effects in that. This to me felt like when Bryce Dallas Howard did her episode that was very much like Jurassic Park. This felt like the Jaws episode. Come on, people, right? The thing in the beginning, when Mando first goes to the village and it's sliding around and it looks like there's a fin like Jaws cutting through the water and everybody's just staring at it, almost like that scene in Jaws where Quint and Brody and Hooper are all on the boat and they see the shark for the first time and it goes by them real slowly because there's nothing they can do at that point. That overhead shot, it feels like this was the Jaws episode. Some of the best parts in the entire episode were when Timothy Olyphant, which I worked with Timothy Olyphant on The Crazies. And he is so awesome and nice and great to the cast and crew. Also, W. Earl Brown was in this. He played the Weequay bartender, which is kind of cool because that was a complete, when you had Timothy Olyphant, you had him in the scene in the bar, that was, totally Deadwood, if you're Deadwood fans. And I worked with W. Earl Brown. I did Reprisal, which is a series that's streaming now on Hulu. They only did one season of it, but he's in quite a few episodes. Super great guy. I also worked years ago on a movie called Bloodworth, which was based on a book called Provinces of Night that Earl adapted the screenplay and put it out. And I think Sony bought the movie when we finished it. It stars Chris Christopherson and Val Kilmer, and Earl was in that as well. And that movie is out there too, Bloodworth. So if you want to check that out. So, and my wife is good friends with Timothy Olyphant's stand-in on all of his projects, which I'm going to reach out and find out if he actually stood in for him on The Mandalorian, because that would be pretty badass to find out. But anyway, so I digress. Timothy Olyphant was fantastic as usual. I loved his character. I love the backstory behind the armor, how he got Boba Fett's armor. So obviously after the battle at the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi and the explosion and everything that went down, the Jawas rolled in and scavenged the place and they found the body armor of Boba Fett, which was great because, there's always the stories that he crawled out of the legend stories about how he survived and all that. And I love that the only thing he stole with those crystals. Timothy Olyphant's character, the Marshal, he stole the crystals that were in the ice cream maker from Empire Strikes Back, which now it was used in season 1 of Mandalorian. And it looks like this is like this. The cosplayers now are going to go nuts because they're going to dress up in the half they'll have the half Boba Fett armor carrying around the ice cream maker. Or they'll just have, when he was in the desert, Timothy Oliphant struggling, telling the story about how he survived, with the ice cream maker. Great stuff. I mean, hands down, this is, it's paying homage to the original trilogy and paying fan service, but doing it so subtle that you're not going, see, I'm spoon feeding you stuff. I loved that the speeder bike that the Marshal was using was a pod racer engine that had been converted. I just absolutely just nods to the sequel, the prequel trilogy. With that, let's see, it was very much, the storyline was very much like a throwback Western Pale Rider, where, the town villagers had to join forces with the natives to go against the bad guys and so forth, that kind of thing. So once again, sticking with those Western motifs with the episode. So I like that it's been established that the Mandalorian can communicate with Tusken Raiders, which is great. And you know what? For the first time in Star Wars, they've humanized the Tusken Raiders in a way that we've not seen them before, which there's going to be a lot of cosplayers out there that already have Tusken Raider gear, and they'll be able to wear these outfits with a whole new perspective, because before they're just the bad guys, but when you hear that they've been around for 1,000 years and they've survived all this time in the sands, they know every grain of sand on Tatooine and all that, and it also humanized their dogs, which I love that scene when Mando and the Marshal pull up, and it looked like they were going to shoot all these sand dogs. I don't know what the name of it is, but they were in the prequel trilogy when Anakin slaughtered that village of sand people, and the dogs were there wrestling. And then Mando goes up there and he knows how to talk to them and pet them, and it was like wiggling like a regular dog. And it's like, yeah, man, there's sometimes the appearance is scary, but these are like their pets, so they're loyal to the sand people. Sand people come out. I love it. It was really good. What I didn't expect, which was really a great pleasant surprise, sometimes with these things, whether it's monster movies or whatever, they fail to surprise me. But this thing was called a dragon, so the assumption is it's a fire breathing dragon, or maybe something like that'll happen at some point. But the fact that it spit out acid, like stomach acid, regurgitated stomach acid, which like melted the characters, was great. What a brilliant choice. Absolutely love that part. And then, very much Jonah and the whale. I felt bad for all of the banthas that were used as bait throughout this whole thing. It's just like, because it's like taking an elephant out there and letting it get killed. But the idea that he would get swallowed by this sand dragon, and had the bantha with all the explosives on it, and then blow up on the inside. I loved it. And then he shoots out and everything. I mean, it was just so good. So they saved the day. So now there's going to be peace between the villagers and between the sand people, until someone breaks it, because the sand people always keep their bond and see that their loyalty, and they don't break truces and stuff. And that is interesting, because once again, it shows that, like, if you work with them, they're a little more civilized than the savages that they come across in the Star Wars universe. So absolutely enjoyed the hell out of this episode. I'm trying to see if there's anything, obviously, the revelation of Tamora Morrison at the end as Boba Fett. So Boba Fett obviously did get out of the Sarlacc pit, probably very much in the same way that Mando, either blasted out or whatever, or maybe he was unconscious and they took him for dead. So the Jawas took all his body armor off of him, because that explosion of the sailing barge would have blown up the Sarlacc, because the Sarlacc was only, 10, 20, it was a 40-foot drop maybe, because they were all hovering over the Sarlacc pit. So when that thing blew, it had to have blown up what was under the ground too, because the Sarlacc was there. So, and you could tell by the damage on Boba Fett being played now by Tamora Morrison. It looked like he had scars on his face, probably from stomach acid, maybe, just like the dragon. So yeah, man, like that was a great reveal. The question going forward is that just a glorified cameo and we'll never see Boba Fett again come back to reclaim his armor, his father's armor, Django's armor, repainted and reschemed or whatever? That's the question. Or is it just the fans were given a nod, letting people know that Boba Fett is alive? But at this point, now that Mando has the armor and he's going to return to his ship, and didn't look like Boba Fett, since he had a gaffy stick and a long rifle. It didn't look like he had anything else. He's just on a cliff. We don't know if he had a speeder. We don't know if the Slave One is around there somewhere. And if that was the case, why didn't Boba Fett over all this time figure out who the hell took his armor? I mean, because if he was smart, he would figure out the Jawas scavenged it and then go into that particular sand crawler and find his gear. I don't know. But the bottom line is, it would make sense that the Slave One is still there, that Boba Fett flew off in the Slave One after Attack of the Clones and, took his dad's helmet along with all his gear and fled the scene while the battle was going on Geonosis. So now we know Boba Fett is alive, but is he going to play any kind of a part going forward in this show? Or was it a glorified cameo? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see, but I am tickled to death of this new episode of The Mandalorian to kick off the new season like this. Absolutely fantastic to everybody at Lucasfilm, to Kathleen Kennedy, executive producing the show. Great job. Everybody involved. Absolutely fantastic. This is the Star Wars that we want going forward. I would be happy to never see another crazy, trilogy on the big screen if they keep making stuff like this. It's really going to it has to be top notch going forward. There were a couple of scenes, I will say, that the CGI was a little mostly when the Mando was approaching the city on the speeder bike, and a couple of speeder bike shots looked a little off because they manipulate the background with that LED walls. But other than that, I absolutely loved this story. I loved everything about it. This is the Star Wars we want. This is the Star Wars we need. Tell good stories. Have all the elements there that you need without spoon feeding fan service. Great job all around, everybody. What did you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one.